Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and today we've got something completely different to talk to you about. So this time we're not testing golf clubs, we've got some golf balls. Okay, so the latest kind of premium ball line from Srixon has been sent to us. This is their golf ball line for 2023 for, like I say, your mid to lower handicap kind of bracket out there. So we're going to put them through their paces on the Trackman in a little bit, have a bit of a comparison between the 4 different golf balls that we've got here. But let's talk to you a little bit about each one individually. So as I open this box here, we've got a little presentation box with all 4 of the golf balls we're going to test today. So we have, let's start with Z-Star, okay? It's a golf ball all of you will be familiar with. Many of you have tried in the past and absolutely loved. We've got a new ball here which is called Z-Star Divide, which for those of you that have used Q-Star Divide this year know it's a half and half coloured golf ball, so it's going to help us with things like our putting and chipping and alignment when we're practicing or even out on the golf course as well. We've also got Z-Star XV, which has been in the line for a long time, and Z-Star Diamond, which was introduced last season. So like I say, we're going to talk to you a little bit about the technology of each golf ball and how they should differ, but also put them through their paces in here, hit some shots on the Trackman and tell you the numbers that we get. So what I'm going to test is with a wedge, so I'm going to hit like a little partial pitch shot of about 30-40 yards. I'm then going to hit a full shot with a 7-iron and I'm going to hit some drivers as well. Let's start then with the very popular Z-Star golf ball. So we've also got Z-Star Divide. These are exactly the same in the way they're constructed. Obviously the Divide has the different colours on either half. It's also a bit more of a kind of pearlescent finish that it's got to it as well, so it looks slightly different to the standard Z-Star, but in terms of what's going on inside this golf ball, it's exactly the same. So we're going to see a golf ball now that is kind of low driver spin, but the highest around the greens that they're going to have. So this should spin pretty well on our partial pitch shot, but also spin quite low with driver. In terms of compression, it's a little bit softer, down at 92 compression, this golf ball. The other 2 we're going to look at, so Z-Star Diamond and Z-Star XV, are up at over 100 to 102 compression, those 2 golf balls. So we'd expect this one to feel a little bit softer when we're hitting it. But in terms of the technology, all 3 of these golf balls have some similar technologies in there. So they've got the fast layer core, so inside this golf ball, it's also got this urethane cover. So the CERM technology that they use, which is a really thin, only a matter of microns thick all the way around the cover here, basically helps with the friction between the cover and the grooves on your wedge. So it should increase that, get us a little bit more spin compared to not having that layer on the golf ball there. So we should see decent greenside spin, and when we're pitching, quite a decent amount of spin in there as well. Be interesting to compare this across the models because they've all got this technology on there. So that slightly lower compression should feel that bit softer and should maybe suit that player with slightly slower swing speed who maybe wants a bit more kind of distance and speed, but also wants some control around the greens as well. When we move on to Z-Star XV, okay, slightly different inside here. So it's almost a sort of inner and outer core that we have here, but a lot of the technologies are similar as well. So we've still got the fast layer core, we've still got the urethane cover, we've still got the CERM technology around the outside to help us with the spin. This golf ball is designed to be low spin off the driver, but also kind of mid to high spin around the greens as well. So I would expect the flight with this to potentially be a little bit lower than we see with Z-Star, but maybe the spin to be pretty similar around the greens. I've actually used this ball myself before and found it sort of audibly higher pitch and clickier than the Z-Star, which some of you will like, some of you won't like. But in terms of the tech, it's kind of your higher club head speed player. Someone wants to keep the spin down a little bit with the driver, but also maintain some control around the greens. And finally, Z-Star Diamond, the newest of these golf balls that's been introduced into the range. So it's a golf ball that we've had for over a year now, mid-flight, mid sort of spin with the driver, but high spin around the green. So for those players who you know, hit the ball pretty hard, but also maybe want that bit more flight on the golf ball, maybe a little bit more spin, because some of us, when we play, do want more spin with our driver and irons. You know, we're not all players who really need to get that spin number down, but it's also going to allow us to control it around the greens too. So again, 102 compression, as we've said, urethane cover, fast layer core, and also the CERM technology in the cover there as well. So we'd almost expect differences between the performance of these, and certainly the height of the flight and also the spin as we get into the wedges as well. Be interesting to see which one comes out the spinniest. So let's put them to the test. Let's have a bit of a look and see how they perform. So we're going to start our test with Z-Star Divide. So like I say, this one should feel pretty soft when we're hitting this little pitch shot with it. And like I said, I'm probably going to try and hit something around the sort of 30 to 40 yard mark, really, just a short little pitch there, just to try and get some numbers on how much spin we're getting on these little short partial shots, because this is the ball that's supposed to spin the most when we're hitting these little ones. So we're now going to hit the same shots with the Z-Star golf ball. Should feel exactly the same. Looks a bit different because of the finish of the golf ball, but let's just hit a few. Yeah, it feels very similar, nice and soft off the club face. We'll have a look when we see the spin numbers at the end, but yeah, it feels very, very similar as you would imagine. Same compression. Remember, this time down at 92 compression, so a bit less than the other two golf balls that we're going to try. But certainly feels and sounds pretty good and kind of similar to what I'm used to. So we're now on to Z-Star XV, which again, 102 compression, remember, so it should feel firmer when we're hitting it. And like I said in the outset, basically I've used this ball before and I found it to be quite clicky when you chip and put with it, and it's certainly a bit kind of higher pitch. See if you can pick that up on the video, but certainly, you know, to me, that wouldn't put me off at all. It's quite a nice feeling golf ball, I think, when you hit it, and certainly when we're actually hitting shots with it, that clickier kind of feedback that you get doesn't really bother me. I really don't like golf balls that sound like the old Bellata style ones that are really, really soft. I'm not really a big fan of that. Again, I mean, the spin, just looking at the numbers on the outset, we can see is similar, if slightly lower than some of the shots I've hit with the Z-Star golf balls, both the standard Z-Star and the Divide, but obviously we'll see that at the end. Seems to launch a little bit higher. I don't know whether we'll see that when we look at the data, but it just seems to come off the face a little bit higher than the Z-Star did. Now we get to Z-Star Diamond. Remember, this is the same compression as XV, so 102 compression, so it should feel firmer than Z-Star, but a ball that's designed to launch a little bit higher than both of the ones we've tried so far. So it's kind of a mid-launch, mid to high launch and high flight golf ball. So we'll see if it's any different when we're hitting these little pitch shots. We should still get pretty good spin and control. That one certainly felt really nice off the face, and you know, felt like the grooves got involved in it quite nicely. So we'll see how that comes out. Yeah, 4,600 RPM, which is higher than the others so far. Let's have another look. But yeah, really nice feeling golf ball. Although it's the same compression as XV, doesn't feel the same at all. It feels a bit softer. The sound is the biggest difference. Whether it's the cover that's doing that, I don't know, but yeah, it certainly sounds a bit different. Let's start then by taking a look at the data. Okay, so our 60-degree wedge, again, that kind of 30 to 40 yard shot that we were hitting, just a nice little pitch really. And let's have a look at how each of the golf balls has performed. So the one we started with was Z-Star Divide. So let's take a little bit of a look at that. We can see spin just short of 4,300 RPM on a short shot like that. In terms of launch angles and peak height for all these, they're about the same across all the golf balls that we see. They're certainly very similar anyway. Slightly higher launch with Z-Star compared to the Divide though, which they're obviously supposed to be the same golf ball in terms of the way that they're manufactured and made. The only difference being that cover that we can see there. So interesting that we've got such a difference there. So we can actually see in our test the lowest spins that we got were with both Z-Star and Z-Star XV. So if we look at those, they're both around that kind of 4,100 mark, and Z-Star Diamond spinning the most. Okay, so it's kind of what I would have expected. However, Z-Star is designed to be the one that spins the most around the greens, and we're obviously not seeing that in this test here, and certainly for this little pitch shot. But may be different when we move on to the 7-iron. So let's take a look. We'll start again with Z-Star Divide. Okay, so let's hit a few shots with that. It feels pretty good off the face. Let's have a look spin wise, 6,400 RPM, which is kind of what I'd expect really for a 7-iron. So let's hit 3 or 4 more. Again, feels decent off the face, feels nice and firm actually when you're hitting it, which I quite like. I'm not sure, I mean for me that kind of pearl finish and the two different colours, I'm not sure I'd play with a golf ball like this, but certainly from the feel off the face it feels pretty good. And obviously for things like putting and chipping and your alignment is obviously great for that as well. But yeah, in terms of the feel of the golf ball, it's decent. So moving on to the Z-Star golf ball, okay? Reminder, it's exactly the same in terms of the construction to the Divide, so should perform pretty much the same. Actually feels quite a lot softer when you hit it, I don't know why. Similar sort of numbers though. Again, it feels good off the face, but definitely feels, and I don't know whether it's the sound, but it sounds softer and feels softer. The sort of feedback I'm getting feels softer off the club face. But in terms of the shots we're hitting, they're pretty similar. The distances we're getting, pretty similar as well. So, yeah, I'd say the biggest difference that I can sort of tell myself, we haven't obviously looked at any data yet, but is just the sort of feel off the club face. It's just that little bit softer, the standard Z-Star, as opposed to the Divide. I don't know why. Z-Star XV then. So we'd expect, if it's like it was with the pitch shots that we've hit, it should sound a little bit harder, if you like, a bit clickier when we hit it. Yeah, it definitely sounds different. Feels good though, I quite like it. It's more solid sort of feel when you hit it, which I really like. I say in terms of the golf ball, the finish and everything looks exactly the same as Z-Star. You know, we don't have that pearlescent cover that we do on the Divide. Looks exactly the same really as Z-Star. Obviously we now have a red number on this, which weirdly some people get very het up about the colour of the number on the golf ball. I have absolutely no idea why, but let's hit a couple more. Yeah, it just feels really good. It feels quick as well, so some of the ball speed numbers I've just noticed are starting to creep up a little bit with this. and obviously the distances are with that too. But like I say, this golf ball is aimed at your higher club head speed player, really. So we would expect it to perform better being hit that hard, really. So, you know, I would say I'm not the highest club head speed in the world, but you can see 7 iron 94 miles an hour is quicker than most, really. It's probably about average for your PGA Tour player or a European Tour player, but they're a lot better than me. So remember back to the tech of this Z-Star Diamond golf ball. It should be more of a mid-launch, mid-spin golf ball, but again, that firmer 102 compression. So let's hit a couple of shots. Feels good off the face, really nice and solid. Again, similar to the XV, I would say, maybe a little bit softer. I don't know whether that's my brain playing tricks on me, but yeah, it just feels a little bit that way. Horrible strike, but again, we've hit it sort of 174, which is pretty much what I'd generally hit 7-iron, between 175, 180, somewhere in that kind of gap. I've obviously got the pulls a little bit today, as you can see, most of them finishing just left of the target. Better shot, I think, a bit straighter. But yeah, it, again, feels very similar to XV. It'd be interesting to see the differences in the spins and the launches and things, but I couldn't really tell the two apart, if I'm honest. Let's just hit one more. Again, feels really good. Anything I would say is maybe just going a little bit higher, but that's what it's designed to do. But it'd be interesting when we see the results. When we look into our 7-iron performance, then we can see not only was I pulling them all today, but we can see some decent difference between the numbers that we're getting. So let's look at the divide. This is probably the biggest shock, really, when we look at how low the spin is compared to all the others, and ball speed as well, the lowest. So we're getting a bit more with Z-Star, a little bit more with XV, and the most ball speed actually with Z-Star Diamond. Okay, so it's a little bit quicker off the face in terms of the distance. They're all pretty similar. So we've gone 175 up to 177.5. So pretty close, to be honest. Sorry, 173 there was Z-Star if we look. So 173.5. So there's only 4 yards between the shortest and longest. Very, very compact in terms of the kind of distances we're hitting them. But we can see that some of the carries with both XV and Diamond are a little bit better. And yeah, to be honest, I just felt those two were the best off the face as well in terms of the feel. I really like the XV and I quite like the Diamond as well. I don't know whether it's just that firmer compression that feels a bit better, but certainly when we're looking at performance there as well and dispersion, those two are a little bit tighter dispersion than the other two as well. But it'll be interesting to see if this really stretches out when we hit driver. Now on to hitting some with the driver. So we've already seen from the 7-iron and from those partial wedge shots that we hit that the balls are kind of doing what we expect them to do, but this one has been a bit of an anomaly, really. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with the driver. I've already hit a couple down there, so not too bad really, sort of on the fairway, but let's hit a couple more, okay? Bit of a pull, but it's down there. Wasn't a great strike, it has to be said, but you know, from how poorly I've struck that, the spin has stayed down quite nicely. So let's just hit another few. So we're going to hit a few now with Z-Star XV, the Z-Star and Z-Star Divide. Pretty decent, well, what I can see so far is decent performance, but we'll obviously get more into that when we see the numbers. Z-Star seemed to go a little bit further than the Divide. Don't know why. Again, we'll have a look into that when we look at the numbers, but XV, we know is going to sound different because it has done with 7-iron and a wedge, and it's designed to be probably the lowest spinning of all of the balls that we've hit in terms of with driver, because it's the one that's designed to be hit the hardest, I suppose. So it'd be interesting to see what sort of performance we get. But let's hit a couple of shots to start with. It feels quite different to Z-Star, but again, it's just the noise it makes off the face is the biggest difference. Obviously, like I've alluded to when hitting the Z-Star before, the balls really look the same apart from the colour of the number on the front. You know, the finish is very much the same. The technology in here obviously different, so the core, that almost dual core design that we saw inside the golf ball there, slightly different. So we should get some differences in terms of the numbers that we get with this golf ball. Has to be said, not driving it the best today, but that was a better one, just down the left hand side of the fairway. But 313, ball speed good, anything over 170 I normally think is pretty good for me, so I could get to mid 170s if I'm absolutely ripping it, but yeah, that would be pretty much what I'd expect. And launch and spin wise, that one, the first one was a bit spinny and out to the right, second one there, much better strike, spins dropped a little bit, but yeah, performance is good. So the final ball we're going to hit some shots with is Z-Star Diamond, of course, and it should be more of a mid-spin, mid-launch kind of golf ball. So let's see how it compares with the others. I've already hit a few, and straight off the bat, feel-wise, it feels a bit softer than XV did. There's less of that kind of clicky kind of sound when we hit it. It's a bit lower pitched when we hit it, so it's a bit closer to feel to the normal Z-Star, I would say. But let's see how performance is. I mean, it should kind of sit in between the two, I'd imagine, in terms of the kind of spin and launch characteristics that we're getting. It probably the highest launch though. So let's have a hit and see. Again, does just feel that little bit softer off the face than the XV. Let's just hit a couple more. And flight-wise, just looking at them down that right-hand side, they seem to be a touch higher than the others were. So now that we've hit shots with driver with all four of these golf balls, we can see the results here. So what we'll notice straight away is in terms of the kind of ball speeds, carry distances, etc., we're not seeing anything massively different. Z-Star Divide was a little bit slower than the other three, but they're all just short or just over that 170 mark. So 171 with Z-Star, Z-Star Diamond and Z-Star XV, and the Divide just falling below that slightly. So we can see spin numbers ranging 2,800 is the highest with Z-Star Diamond, which we were expecting as well. And in terms of the distances, so we've gone from 281 as the shortest carry with the Divide to well, pretty much 288 with Z-Star XV. So a little bit of difference there around that 7 yards mark through the air. And then in terms of total distance, we've gone from 302 with Divide, 305 with the Diamond because of the spin, and 309 with both XV and with the standard Z-Star. So we're seeing quite similar numbers. You know, we've only got 7 yards between shortest and longest in terms of total distance. Now, what I would say is in terms of the feel off the club face, much preferred Z-Star XV and Z-Star Diamond. And I think across the three tests that we've done, so with 60 degree, with 7-iron, and also now with driver, I think if I was to pick one to go in the bag, I think it would be Z-Star XV. I think the feel for me, I quite like the sound. I like the amount of spin I was getting with it, and with 7-iron just felt a bit more controllable as well. Weird as it sounds, I don't know, but I just like it. I just like the feel of the golf ball, and certainly having played with it before, the biggest kind of negative factor I would have said that I found when using Z-Star XV previously was it sounded a bit clicky and a bit sort of high pitched, particularly when you put and chip with it. But this version of the golf ball, which I haven't had the chance to play with yet, doesn't quite sound the same. It's still a little bit clickier than the others, but nowhere near like the previous model was. So be good to get out on the golf course, put these to the test and play with them. But in terms of the kind of distances and spins that I'm seeing there, it kind of stacks up against a lot of the golf balls that I try. You know, certainly your Titleist, Callaway, TaylorMade of this world that we do lots of fitting with here in the room, and generally when we're using golf balls on the Trackman for you know, low handicappers or good players, we tend to use the specific Titleist golf ball that's made for Trackman. So generally using that and seeing the figures, and it kind of stacks up very, very similar against what I'm seeing with Pro V1. In terms of the durability, they all seem pretty good as well. I've hit quite a few shots in the net here with all of them, and obviously they're hitting the net, which they tend to get scuffed up quite easily when you're doing that inside, and certainly no visible signs that that's happened. But getting out on the golf course and testing them was obviously the best way to test that. You know, if you're hitting a tree or bouncing off a path or something like that, I'm pretty sure they're going to scuff up a little bit, just like every other golf ball would. But we know Srixon are renowned for performance. We know they've got lots of the best players in the world out there using their product and winning with it as well. So they're definitely worth trying if you're looking at a new golf ball. Hope you've enjoyed that video and that brief look through the premium golf ball range for Srixon for 2023. Keep watching all of our content here on the Golfshake YouTube channel to help you play more and play better. And as always, if you've got questions, pop them in the comment section below. If you use this golf ball, if it's a golf ball you're thinking of using for the current season, please let us know that as well. And we hope to see you all very, very soon.